All right, we're on the record in docket 23-02081. That is People of the State of Michigan versus Cody Wicks. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record?
Good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Melanie Smith appearing on behalf of the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Derek Ed from Office of Public Defender on behalf of Mr. Wicks. Mr. Wicks is in the courtroom standing to my right.
Sir, you are Cody Harris Wicks?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. This is the time set for a preliminary examination today. Ms. Smith, how are we proceeding?
Thank you, Your Honor. Unfortunately, both Tammy Dexter and Robin Dexter Wicks have failed to appear today. Our office has had multiple attempts to contact the victim, which would be Miss Tammy Dexter, without success. Miss Dexter Wicks is an eyewitness. We have had contact with her, and she's made it abundantly clear that she will not be participating in this case. The people are unable to proceed with preliminary examination today.
Do you have a motion, Mr. Etheridge?
Yes, Your Honor, I would ask for a motion of the court to dismiss the case without prejudice. I've explained that to Mr. Wicks. He understands it could be reissued if the alleged victim or other witnesses wish to participate in the future.
All right, so I will grant the motion to dismiss based on the prosecutor's unable to proceed and witnesses failed to appear. Appears the prosecutor's office has had contact with the subpoenaed witnesses, and there's been either no response or a response that was undesirable. So at this point in time, the file is dismissed without prejudice. And Mr. Etheridge, Mr. Wicks, your attorney, Mr. Etheridge, has indicated for the record you understand that without prejudice does mean that the people could reissue if they choose to. For our purposes today, the case is dismissed. All right, sir? Yes, sir. All right. Anything else for the record in 23-02081, Ms. Smith?
Nothing from the people.
Mr.
Thank you.
Etheridge?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, Mr. Wicks, good luck to you.
All right, good luck, Mr. Wicks. And follow through with what we talked about. Okay? All right. We will see.
Talk about maybe getting some mental health help.
Alcohol, inpatient.
That's good too.
Stop hitting people, stuff like that, you know.
Stop getting drunk.
Yeah, when you read blacked out in a police report, you just know it's going to be bad on all accounts. But I've never had someone tell me to F off when offering to get them an Uber to come to court. I was like, oh, well, people tell me that a lot, but not usually when I'm offering to buy them a taxi cab.
That's the new one.
Yeah,
that's a new one.
There's plenty of things I could say to you where I would expect that.
All right, so Mr. Fields, you can come over here. You stand up right there. That's good.
Just come stand right next to me.
All right. So we're on the record in both dockets, 23-02097 and 23-02096. That's people of the state of Michigan versus DeLeon Fields and people of the state of Michigan versus Dadrion Patterson. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record?
Good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Melanie Smith on behalf of the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Stephen Feigelson on behalf of Mr. Fields.
And sir, you are DeLeon Fields?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. And then Ms. Robinson, on behalf of Mr. Patterson.
Yes, Erin Robinson, Assistant Public Defender for Mr. Patterson, who's not currently present with us today.
All right, and that's, I will let Ms. Smith make a record in regards to Mr. Patterson's non-appearance for problems with the writ, and then also make a record in regards to the conflict counsel being appointed as of yesterday. Both, as I see it, both reasons for good cause adjournment. Ms. Smith, you may make a record.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Mr. Patterson and Mr. Fields are co-defendants in these cases, and therefore the people would like to run the preliminary examinations together. We would have been prepared today. However, there's been some changes with respect to attorneys. Originally, the public defender's office was appointed to Mr. Fields, and they denied appointment on Mr. Patterson. However, Mr. Patterson's incarceration changed his status and eligibility, so the public defender was able to take on Mr. Patterson's case and appointed Ms. Robinson. That happened earlier this week. Mr. Fields had previously been, his cases had previously been assigned to Mr. Berry. Mr. Berry also agreed to take on this additional file. However, he was not able to appear for today's purposes. I don't believe a substitution of counsel has been executed yet, but I imagine that is forthcoming. So for good cause, we would be asking that both Mr. Patterson and Mr. Fields preliminary examinations are adjourned for good cause today and set at a date and time in the future, the same date and time.
Mr. Feigelson.
Yes, Your Honor, that is accurate of what's going on here today, Your Honor. We are, there's a conflict. I don't know how and why we took Mr. Fields' case. That's not germane at this point. Mr. Berry has accepted Mr. Fields' case and is going to be coming in, and he would ask for the adjournment, Your Honor.
And Ms. Robinson?
Yes, Your Honor. In regards to Mr. Patterson, so he is currently in custody in Calhoun County. Was supposed to be written out today. It looks like the Ingham County Sheriff's Office did not complete that writ, so he's not here today. So I would just ask the court find good cause for adjournment.
All right. So let's do one file at a time. We'll do Mr. Fields first. Mr. Fields, I find good cause to adjourn your matter. Your conflict counsel was just appointed, Mr. Berry, and he's yet to file a substitution of counsel. That's why Mr. Feigelson is covering from the public defender's office. But once Mr. Berry gets his substitution, and he'll get all of your police reports and discovery, and he'll be able to zealously advocate for you during the hearing. So and with that being said, I'm gonna you're not waiving any rights today. I'm gonna find this to be good cause to adjourn.
Today I'll be hiring an attorney.
Okay, so you talk to Mr. Berry about that. Okay, yeah, because Mr. Barr, you can talk to Mr. Feigelson, but Mr. Berry is going to file an appearance. If you plan to retain your own counsel, tell him,
Okay.
and then we'll figure that out. Okay, he'll contact but I'll make a note in the file that you indicated that. All right.
Your Honor, could we inquire, Mr. Fields, who that is, just so that I can make sure my office is in touch with them as well?
Do you know, have there been any names discussed?
My dad said he's contacting Jamie White. He's going to pay him today.
All right.
Thank you so much.
But I do think there's another, we already agreed upon a date to treat this as I want to call it a PCC. I think they set it for the 28th, Your Honor. That could be wrong.
So let's look at, it's August 28th,
No, July 28th.
July 28th, Friday. Is there anything said? Okay, so let's set it for July 28th.
And that's for preliminary exam.
Yeah, at 9:30. That's a week for the writ, so that, I think that'll work.
I'd rather, Judge, if we could treat it as maybe a PCC, given the status of both councils being in the file.
Ms. Smith, do you have any objection to it being treated as a PCC?
I have no objection.
Okay, Ms. Robinson?
No objection.
All right, let's treat that, so we'll set it for PCC on that date. And that's probably a good idea since we're somewhat, it's ambiguous as to the status of the attorneys. But we will writ out Mr. Patterson. If for nothing else, just to make sure we can. Okay, I mean, so G was, so in regards to Mr. Fields, I find good cause to adjourn based on conflict counsel being appointed. And then Mr. Fields has indicated that the White Law Firm may be coming in to represent, and we'll set it for PCC on July 28th at 9:30. In regards to Mr. Patterson, docket 23-02096, I find good cause to adjourn. And D will once again be writ out of Clinton County.
Of Calhoun
I'm
County.
sorry, I keep saying Calhoun.
That's okay. Just want to make sure it's written correctly.
Yeah,
That's all
so
that
do I.
matters.
That's a good idea. Calhoun County for PCC on July 28th, also at 9:30.
Now, did we want to set prelim dates at this point too, or are we gonna set that at the time of the PCC?
Let's set it at the time of the PCC,
Very
so
good.
we have some idea. So we have Mr. Fields' counsel all set. I think Mr. Patterson's all set with Ms. Robinson. I'm uncertain with Mr. Fields at this point in time, because we may have new counsel come in.
Right.
So, yeah, so let's make sure we figure that out, and then we'll set it for prelim. And I hate to set it for prelim and then have the White Law Firm come in and disrupt that because their schedule doesn't fit.
Totally understood, Your Honor. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure for purposes of subpoenas, I wasn't
Right.
missing something.
All right,
Thank you.
so anything else for the record in either one of these cases, 23-02096 in regards to Mr. Patterson,
Nothing from the-
23-02097 in regards to Mr. Fields.
Sorry, nothing from the people, Your Honor.
Mr. Feigelson,
Nothing on behalf of the defense. Your Honor.
Ms. Robinson?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you. That's all for the record in those two files. You're all set, sir.
Take care, Mr. Field.
You said that there's some possible cases in the queue that are coming in.
Yeah, so they're not in review yet, but from what I understand, the overall thought is the two of them went on kind of like a little spree.
Sure.
So
Okay.
it's similar MO of
Yeah.
breaking, entering into.
If you have an offer or anything, just shoot it my
Yes,
way.
for sure. I think the thought was, let's just get everything that we're gonna get
Yeah.
to circuit court, and then we'll get you guys a global resolution.
For sure.
I think on your guys, it's probably gonna be high, because I don't remember seeing a big record for him. Mr. Fields is
Yeah, I don't think he
in a different
has
situation,
much.
but
Yeah.
my guess is at some point they're probably gonna wanna talk to your guy and give him something to
Yeah,
chat.
for sure.
Get back at the ranch.
See, Mr. Feigelson?
No, I mean, I got an exam with you.
Oh, that's right.
Uh-oh, you're not done for the day?
No, he's got Mr. Williams.
Oh, well, good luck.
Thanks. I'll see you back at the ranch.
I'm working from home for the rest of the day. I gotta go get my new fridge delivered.
Good to see you,
Let's
Aaron.
see,
See you later.
Mr. Robinson.
Got back over here now. I was down to 55th, but they sent me back over here.
Did they really?
Yeah, I guess the road was busy enough and with Ed and Dale leaving. I don't know.
We do have a volume over here. There's,
What?
our volume is,
Yeah.
I had Mr. Anid from East Lansing
Yeah.
cover last Tuesday. And he looked at the
Sweet
doc,
George.
he looked at the docket and he said, I think this is what we do in East Lansing in a week.
Maybe
And I
two.
said, yeah, I'm like, you got that this morning, Mr.
That's
Anid.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have that this morning.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yeah, East Lansing, we call it the country club for a reason.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think he'll learn fast when he gets here, but it might be a rough few weeks.
So we used to call Mason the farm, but now I call it the space station because I new building.
And because of all the weird cases that end up out there.
Fair enough. I liked it out there. I was just growing
Oh,
up.
I always
55th.
liked it out
I love
there.
55th. It's weird, but
I got a little bit bored in 54B. during the summer when the students were gone.
Yeah,
There's just,
nothing to do.
you've got a hearing at 10 and you've got your next hearing at 1:30 and you're like, I'll go to Giorgio's and get a pizza, I'll go to FBC and look at some vinyl. You start running out of things to do a little bit.
I don't know why we don't put whoever is the screener, like the designated screener, should also be in 54B, because there's no reason that you can't do both of those.
They've had 2 judges out there for a long, long time, but
I don't think they need 2 judges, but.
well,
No.
but the, all right, so we're on the record in docket 23-02056. That's people of the state of Michigan versus Ronnie J. Williams. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Melanie Smith, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney on behalf of the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Stephen Flagelson, on behalf of Ronnie Williams, who's standing to my left.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor.
You are Ronnie Williams?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is the time set for preliminary examination today. Ms. Smith, how are we proceeding?
We're going to proceed with the preliminary examination today, Your Honor.
All right. Are there any preliminary matters to come to the court's attention before we get started?
Nothing from the people.
All right. Anything from the defense?
None, Your Honor.
All right. There'll be a motion for sequestration, an ongoing motion for sequestration. I'm assuming counsel knows the case better than I do. So if you see anybody in back that should not be listening to testimony, let the court know and we'll make sure they're excused.
Thank you,
Okay.
Your Honor.
All right. With that understanding, Ms. Smith, you may call your first witness.
Thank you. The people call Alexis Wagner Hughes.
Ma'am, I'm going to have you come right up here. And for the court reporter and for myself, please state your name and spell your first name and last name for the record.
Alexis Wagner, ALEXISWAGNE.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury? All right. Please have a seat. The microphone is for recording purposes, so you can speak into that and the court recorder can hear you. And then project to the back of the room and let me know if that fan bothers you. We can turn that off, okay? All right. Ms. Smith, you may proceed when you're ready.
Thank you. Is Alexis what you prefer to be called? Great. Alexis, on July 2nd of 2023, where were you living?
3951 West Jolly Road, apartment.
Who did you live there with?
Ronnie and our daughter Elena.
And who is Ronnie to you?
My daughter.
Were you and Ronnie in a dating relationship? How long have you been dating?
On and off for like 6 years.
And how old is your daughter?
She's fine.
Was Elena home on July 2nd? And why don't you go ahead and tell me why the police came to talk to you on July 2nd?
I called them that day because me and Ronnie got into a physical altercation. And I was locked out of the house, so I called because you wouldn't let me.
Okay, so why don't you tell me the very first thing that you can remember about the altercation between you and Ronnie?
We were arguing on and off that day. I remember he was talking about me on his Xbox to other people and I got upset. So I went outside. I came back inside after about 10 minutes.
Judge, I'd ask you to speak up a little bit. I'm in trouble hearing.
I'm just gonna turn the fan off. if
All
that's
right.
okay.
We'll turn the fan off and so we can all hear a little better. And we can turn this fan off too, Ms. Smith, which is right next to the
I think this is the one.
All right,
Big
is that one?
noise.
Okay. All right, Ms. Wagner Hughes, and Ms. Smith, you may proceed.
Thank you. Alexis, you were talking about you had left home for about 10 minutes because you were arguing. Then what were you going to tell us?
After that, came inside, everything was off. So I locked the door. I thought he went in the room with our daughter. So I shut that door and I turned the light on. He came, he was knocking at the door, trying to get in. He kind of got upset that he got locked out. So that kind of like started the whole situation.
Okay. Did Ronnie get in at some point?
Yeah, he had a key.
Okay. And then what happened when he came inside the house?
We were still arguing about things earlier. I don't remember what the argument was about.
Okay. Did the argument move past just verbal at some point?
Yeah, when we were in the kitchen.
Okay, tell me about what happened.
I was warming up some food, and when I went to grab my food, he pushed the microwave in my arm. I then went to strike at Ronnie. I don't remember if I hit him or not. After that, I thought he was going to hit me, so I kicked him. He grabbed my leg, and I fell back. I then got back up, and I just remember I had him by his hair. I don't know if I hit him or anything. Then I went and grabbed his Xbox, and I threw it at the wall, and I caused a hole in the wall. And then I just remember, I got placed in a headlock. After somehow we fell on the ground. So after we fell on the ground, I wasn't able to breathe. I told him I couldn't breathe. He let go of me. So I went by the couch for like a few minutes to catch my breath. And then after that, I went outside and I got locked out of the house. So after about like an hour, I called the cops.
Okay. I'm gonna go back and ask you some questions if that's okay. So you said that you were heating some food in the microwave and that somehow your arm got hit. Tell me how that happened.
Like pushed the microwave on my arm. I don't know if it was an accident. He said it was an accident, but I don't know.
Okay. But did that happen while you were arguing? Is that why you thought maybe it wasn't an accident? Okay. And so,
Yes.
Thank
and so after he closed the microwave and hit your arm, then what happened?
I tried to hit him. Don't remember if I did.
Okay. And after you tried to hit him, what happened next?
I thought he was going to hit me, so I proceeded to kick him.
What was he doing that made you think he was going to hit you?
And he just kind of stepped back. I don't know, just looked like he was going to hit me, like he had his arm.
Okay, so you showed me that he had his arm pulled back, cocked in a punching manner. Is that right? Okay. And so at that point you were scared until you kicked him to try and get him away from you?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what happened?
After that, I got back up and I just remember I had him by his hair.
You said you got back up. So at some point did you end up on the ground?
Yeah, after he grabbed my leg and pulled it.
Okay. Okay. So he kind of grabbed your leg from under you and you fell?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you were able to stand back up, you had him by his hair, and then what happened?
I went and grabbed his Xbox and I threw it at the wall, causing a hole in the wall.
Okay. And then what happened after you threw the Xbox?
That's when I was placed in a headlock.
Okay. Tell me what you mean by a headlock.
I don't really know how to explain this. Just like he just had his arm around me and like I was just like bent this way and just.
Okay, so what you're showing me is that your body was leaned forward a little bit.
Yeah.
And was Ronnie behind you?
He's kind of just on the side of me.
Okay,
Somewhat in front of me.
somewhat in front and on the side, and his arm was wrapped around your neck. Is that correct? Was he using his arm to apply pressure? Could you breathe during that time?
Not when we were standing up. When we fell, I wasn't able to breathe because he was sort of like on top of me with his arm around me.
Okay, so at that point, his arm being wrapped around your neck and you being on the ground, you weren't able to breathe at that
Correct.
point. Okay. Do you know how long that lasted, that you weren't able to breathe?
Only a couple seconds. I was screaming at him, telling him I couldn't breathe. He
Okay.
got up.
What was he saying during that time?
I don't remember. I just know we were both still yelling at each other, and I was screaming, telling him to get off.
Okay. Now, at any point prior to you throwing the Xbox, did Ronnie hit or put his hands on you?
No.
Okay. And then you said you went towards the couch to kind of catch your breath for a few minutes. What happened after that?
I grabbed my stuff and I went outside in the back.
And then you said you waited there for about an hour and then eventually called the police?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I waited there about another half an hour, and the cops still didn't show up. And Ronnie ended up coming out not long later, and he was yelling at me, and it was embarrassing because people were turning on their lights and stuff. So I called the cops again, and that's when they told me to wait at QD.
Okay. Where was Elena while all this was happening?
She was in the room with the door shut.
In the room that you were in or a different room?
My room.
Okay, so the door was shut, so she didn't see this happening? Okay. Has anything like this between you and Ronnie happened before? Is there anything else that happened that day that you think that the court should know? Okay, thank you so much, Elena. And is Ronnie here today?
Yes.
Can you please point to him and tell me what color his shirt is?
Black.
Identification for the record, Your Honor.
Any objection
No, Your
to
Honor.
identification for preliminary examination purpose? The witness has identified the defendant. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Any cross-examination, Mr. Feigelson?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Good morning. Is it Wagner Hughes?
Yes.
All right. And so you were living with Mr. Williams and your daughter at that time, is that correct? And you said on July 2nd, you and Mr. Williams were in some sort of verbal altercation, is that correct?
Yes.
That you started the verbal argument, is that correct?
Yes.
And you don't remember what that argument was about, is that correct?
Yes.
And you were just yelling at him, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you put your hands up or do anything to act like you were gonna hit him first?
No.
And then you said you went outside to calm down, is that correct?
Yes.
And you come back about 10 minutes later, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you calmed down at that point?
Yes.
Okay. And then you said you came back in and you made some food, is that correct?
Yes.
And you put it in the microwave, is that right? And you said you think it could have been an accident that he was trying to help you with the food, that your hand got hit by the microwave, is that correct? And then you said you thought he was trying to hit you, then you kicked him, is that correct?
Yes.
And he grabbed your foot and fell to the ground, is that correct?
Yes.
So then how'd you grab his hair? Why did you grab his hair? And you said there was a headlock. Was he doing that to restrain you from continuing to swing at him since you pulled his hair? Is that correct?
Oh yeah, he put me in a headlock after I threw his Xbox so that I wouldn't break anything.
But he was restraining you to stop you from acting up. Is that correct?
Correct.
Not offensive, but a way to help you calm down. Is that
Yes.
correct? And then you said you felt difficulty breathing. How'd you go to the ground?
I don't remember how we felt to the
Okay.
ground.
Okay. And then as soon as you told him you're having trouble breathing when you were on the ground, he got off you. Is that correct? Your Honor, I have no further questions of this witness.
All right. Redirect, Ms. Smith.
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right. May this witness be excused from the people?
Yes, Your Honor.
From the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you for your appearance today, ma'am. You're excused. Any further witnesses, Ms. Smith?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
When you walk out, there's a little, just so we get inside, will you wait in there for just a minute? Thank you.
Do the people rest?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Feigelson, are you presenting any proofs today?
None for purposes of preliminary exam this morning, Your Honor.
All right. Motion for bind over, Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people are asking that this court bind over this matter with some slight amendments. The people would ask that count 1 be dismissed for lack of evidence shown today. However, the people would ask for counts 2 and 3, as well as the habitual offender notice, to be bound over. Alexis, the victim, has described that she is in a domestic relationship with the defendant. They live together, have been dating 6 years, and share a child in common who is 5. On this date and time, it's clear that the parties were having a lot of difficulty verbally arguing about, different things. And at some point, it does sound as though the combat was mutual. However, once things had calmed down and Alexis threw the Xbox, the defendant did put her in a headlock to the point where she could not breathe. She told him she could not breathe. And respectfully, breaking someone's Xbox is not appropriate, but it's not something that you can say, oh, I had to physically restrain somebody, I had to assault somebody in self-defense. You can't self-defend against an inanimate object. Just thinking about where the defense is likely going in their argument. So I believe that probable cause has been established for 1 count of strangulation, as well as the misdemeanor domestic violence, and ask that Your Honor bind over on counts 2, 3, and the habitual notice. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Feigelson, response.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd ask that this be not bound over on count 2, Your Honor, to ask this stay just as the domestic violence. Let's talk about the evidence that we heard from Ms. Wagner Hughes. She started this argument, Your Honor. She left to calm down. She re-escalated that argument when she broke his Xbox, Your Honor. She tried to kick him. She wasn't certain if he was going to punch her or not. She kicked him. She broke the Xbox. She said that was a restraining move to put somebody in a headlock to get them, not so much to continue to hit him, but to stop somebody from destroying property. I think there was no evidence while they were doing that he was doing it in a choking mode. She said the choking happened once somehow they got to the ground. I don't believe that's enough here to say that this was an assault done with the intent to have strangulation or suffocation. If anything, it's an attempt, Your Honor, but I would ask that it not be bound over as charged. Thank you.
Thank you. Any response to the response to bind over?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just briefly, with respect to the physical conduct between the parties prior to the Xbox being broken, again, I would actually state that that's mutual combat. I believe she said she attempted to kick him because his hand was pulled back in a punching motion. I think that that's definitely an assault and battery as far as a reasonable person fearing an imminent battery. So that's why we're asking that the court not bind over on count 1. I do believe that was mutual combat. However, as I stated, restraining somebody, assaulting somebody in defense of property is not appropriate. And I do think that count 2 is appropriately probable cause standard. Thank you.
All right. So the standard for bind over at the district court level is probable cause. That's the standard for preliminary examination. I do believe the date has been met as July 1st, 2023 at the location of 3951 West Jolly Road, apartment 11, City of Lansing. That also encompasses the venue. So location, venue, and date. I believe that that identification is not an issue. That's been made by probable cause standard, in which Alexis Nicole Wagner Hughes did identify Mr. Williams as being in the courtroom and being the person involved in the fray. As to the elements of the crime concerning count 1, I agree that should be dismissed. That seems to come out of not only the mutual fray, which there's testimony concerning a mutual fray here, but also that I just don't see any conduct concerning the microwave that raises to the level of a bind over. So I'm gonna, as requested, I'm gonna dismiss count 1 as to the bind over. Count 2 at a lower standard of probable cause. This is the theory that's been presented, and it's also the court's understanding that there was a mutual fray, there was a calm down, there was a mutual fray started, but the mutual fray was the destruction of the Xbox, which led to a headlock, which led to the defendant, the Miss Alexis Nicole Wagner Hughes, not being able to breathe. She indicated they went from headlock to the ground, and then she couldn't breathe for several seconds, and then the headlock was released. So the defense of property, this is not an appropriate response to the defense of property. There's no assaultive behavior can be a response to the defense of property under the eyes of the law. And so I would indicate that count 2 has been met by a probable cause standard, which is a lower standard, in which the count 2 as that Ronnie J. Williams did make an assault upon Alexis Wagner Hughes by strangulation or suffocation, contrary to the law of the state of Michigan. I find there's probable cause to bind it over to circuit court on that offense. I do take the mutual fray into account there. I do indicate that assault is a form of an attempt, or can be, with the attempted offensive touching of another or the attempted battery of another. So that's all taken into account, but at a lower level, I believe it's been proven in regards to probable cause. Count 3 is the misdemeanor count that'll follow count 2. And then the habitual offender is second offense is bound over also. So I'm going to bind this account. I'm going to bind the case over. So the case is bound over to circuit court only on counts 2 and 3. 3 is the misdemeanor to follow. And the habitual notice. Count 1 is dismissed at this time. So, Mr. Williams, your time in district court is done. The case is bound over to circuit court, where that is the court of trial. You'll get your next date from Mr. Feigelson, your attorney. Your times here is done. And you'll get your next date in circuit court at the Grady Porter building. Okay, sir. Ms. Smith, anything towards the court's decision?
Nothing about the court's decision, Your Honor.
Okay, anything else on this file?
Yes, Your Honor. I just briefly wanted to reiterate the no contact order. We all know that in domestic violence situations, the lethality of these types of cases increases after a victim testifies. So I just want to be clear that there is to be continued no contact between the parties moving forward. I also just wanted to make a record that there is a warrant pending with Magistrate Milmore. It's my understanding that that hasn't been gone through all of the official channels yet. She's still in the process of reviewing it. However, I know that having police contact would be a bond violation for Mr. Williams. So more so for his benefit, I just wanted to advise that there probably will be a warrant either today or in the near future, and to just keep checking on that so he can come turn himself in rather than having police contact.
Mr. Feigelson, anything in that regard?
Yes, Your Honor. I will make sure he's aware of the no contact, and with regards to the warrant, I'm not sure I'll be able to figure out, but perhaps maybe if Ms. Smith gets some update on when the warrants, he can let me know and I can advise Mr. Williams to turn himself in on it.
All right. There's still no contact order with Ms. Alexis Wagner Hughes in regards to this, and that there's a case. We were trying to arraign you just due to efficiency purposes on that case, but it's not completed yet. So you understand there's a warrant pending, and you need to turn yourself in on that warrant just when you're able to. It might be ready by this afternoon, but who knows? Okay. All right. So I don't want to make any promises in that regard.
The court has a website where they give you the warrant list. I think it updates every Thursday, so
Right.
you can check on that too.
Right. So check on that. And then, Ms. Smith, if you're able to provide any type of information concerning that pending warrant to Mr. Feigelson, that might be a way to do this also.
I will absolutely do that.
All right. Anything else for the record in 2302-056, Ms. Smith?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Feigelson?
Nothing else.
All right. That's all for the record in 2302-056. Thank you for your appearance today.
Thank you.
You're all set, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I think it's Fatima. They have the same middle name.
Yeah, get the same little name.
No, this is him, 99. Oh, no, this is the DP.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Sorry about that.
No, I want to make sure we got the right person for sure.
Yeah, his dad is different.
No, 99, this is
Yeah.
him, but this looks old. It's from,
21.
no, 22,
It's from
9/7/22. So it wouldn't be anything
It's
that
not-
happened while he was on
it's in
bond with us.
1992, so it's like
It looks-
almost a year ago.
It looks like we swore to, or it looks like we charged it back in November of last year.
Yeah.
And then LPD must have never sworn to it.
Oh.
And so we had to re-sign it
Okay.
in July. So that was the issue.
That's fine.
Be careful not to write too much. In the
I don't know.
So that's all.
I'm gonna tell circuit court to.
We're all
Just as a
set.
heads up.
Yeah, I
Now we
figured.
got
I
our-
thought,
That's why I wanted to
Yeah.
run it, because I wanted to see what we
We
had.
are
Yeah, I
all
get
set.